This is Bob Connors, Chair of the Newbury Conservation Commission. I call the July 16th meeting to order. Permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Rimmer.
Here.
TJ Conti.
Here.
Nick Brown.
Here.
Diane O'Brien.
Yes.
And Woody Knight. Good evening. This
Yeah.
Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Probably going to have to change this preamble at some point, Tim. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by telephone conference video via Zoom, as posted on the agenda and a section of the town's website identifying how the public may join. So, good evening. Moving on to the first order of business. Upcoming meeting dates, August 6th and August 20th. Meeting minute review. We have the June 18th and the July 2nd meeting minutes. Why don't we take a moment and we'll look at these separately. Okay, any comments, concerns, or corrections on the June 18th meeting minutes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Diane and TJ. Okay, roll call vote, all in favor. Mary.
Well, I don't believe I was at that meeting.
Okay, that's a good
I
point,
will
Mary.
abstain
Okay,
unless you need a vote.
Nope, we got plenty. TJ.
Aye.
Woody.
Yes.
Mick.
Aye.
Diane.
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, why don't we take a look at the July 2nd, 2024 meeting, see if there's any comments, corrections, or concerns. As the meetings are fully recorded, the minutes, as I've written them, are the bare minimum to meet the open meeting law standard. So apologies for how concise they are. Okay, hearing no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to accept the July 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
Roll call, all in favor? TJ?
Aye.
We have a excuse me, TJ, you make
I
the motion?
second TJ, yeah.
Okay, Diane. Okay, all in favor? Roll call, Mary?
Yes.
TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
I abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay, Mick?
Abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay, Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right. Okay, next matter is an extension. DEP file number 0501361, 173 Hay Street, trustees of reservations. Their current order expires August 17th, 2024, so they're within prior to the 30 days of expiration. Okay, any questions from the members? Mary, any questions on this one?
No, I'll have to abstain since I was involved in this project. This is the salt marsh restoration over on Kent's Island.
Gotcha, okay. Woody, any questions on this one?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Mick, any questions? TJ, any
Sorry, I
questions?
was muted. No questions.
Yep. Yep, TJ, any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Diane, any questions?
Nope, not for an extension. Thank you.
Okay, and Bob Connors has no questions. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the extension for 173 Hay Street. Our bylaw calls for a 3-year extension.
So
We have a motion.
Second.
Okay, TJ and Diane. You know, if you two keep that order, it's gonna make my note keeping a lot
That's-
easier.
We're trying.
Yeah,
Okay.
just use
roll call-
initials and check boxes,
Yeah,
Bob. That's
I
all.
know. Roll call vote, all in favor. Mary? Oh, you're
Abstain.
Mary? Okay, TJ?
Aye.
Woody, were you here at this meeting?
No.
Oh, excuse me.
I
Okay,
wasn't.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day for me. I apologize. Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, certificate of compliance, DEP file number 0501411 291 293 High Road, Mill River Consulting, an as-built plan. Team, I actually did a site inspection over here. If you recall, this is right on the Parker River. And as I recall, this was for a septic replacement. And I was able to do a site visit over there today. And erosion control is still in place, but the vegetation has fully grown. So any questions from the members?
No, if it looks good, I would just say that we can issue a certificate of compliance as soon as they take out the erosion controls to make sure they get removed,
Yeah, you know what? I think they left them in place, Mary, just until.
just for this purpose. Yep.
And and they look like they actually refreshed them before the inspection, just so that.
Yeah. Okay.
so, okay.
Good.
Okay, any other questions? Woody, any questions on this one?
no, no, none at all. Thank you.
Okay,
No.
Mick, any question?
Nope, approved pending removal of the erosion control. So
TJ, any question?
all good.
Diane, how about yourself?
Nope.
And Bob Connors has no questions. All right, is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 291, 293 High Road?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, all in favor? Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, next order of business is certificate of compliance for DEP file number 0501273 26 Southern Boulevard. And this was to install one helical piling at a foundation crack. There's 2 orders of conditions outstanding, but this one here just comes up first. I was able to do a site inspection today there, and the yard is fully vegetated other than walkways where there's crushed stone. There's no impervious material on the property. And I have pictures available if anyone wants to see them. But on the piling, the helical piling, actually probably should have come in as an RDA and not as a order of conditions. But so questions, Mary, any questions on this one?
What was the pier supporting?
It's a cinder block foundation and footing that was only a couple of feet below grade. And there was one area that had a crack, and I guess during a home inspection, or for some reason, putting a helical piling next to the foundation to support that
Oh, okay.
one area. So it wouldn't worsen over time.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mary, Woody, any questions?
no questions at all. Thank you.
Okay, Mick, any questions on this one?
No, sir. No, I'm all set.
Okay, TJ, any questions?
No, all set. I saw the property.
Okay, Diane, any questions?
I don't think so. Is this isn't the one that had to do with the flooding? and
Yes,
selling them?
yeah, they're right in that, they're probably in the lowest spot on Southern Boulevard and Plum Island. We call it Lake O'Brien during the rainy season.
So is that a problem that if there's like complaints out there and we go in?
Well, there's another,
'cause
there's
I know they're
another,
coming up next too,
yeah,
so.
there's another order of conditions for that as well. So this one was by the current owner and the next one will be by the previous owner.
Okay, so any outstanding complaint or anything that's out there would not relate to this one?
Correct. I'll go, when I give my report on the next one, I'll bring you up to speed.
Then I have no questions.
Thank you. And Bob Connors has no questions. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 26 Southern Boulevard, DEP file number 0501273.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Roll call, Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, on the next order of business is a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 050118126 Southern Boulevard. This was a single-family home alteration. This here, I forwarded out to everyone today. This is an outstanding order of conditions from a previous owner that showed up on a title exam. And today I was notified by our administrative assistant that the abutting neighbor had filed a complaint. Did everyone see that?
I filed it. I didn't hear that. Bob, what did they file?
They filed a written complaint,
A complaint.
yep, claiming that the work done on the property was causing the flooding on Southern Boulevard.
Okay.
Okay, what I was able to do, I probably have pretty good empirical knowledge as I've lived here, been here for 44 years and have watched Southern Boulevard flood over the last 3 or 4 decades. The neighbor had raised a question that there was some filling done on the property, and that is what's causing the flooding. I sent out pictures. Did everyone get the pictures I sent out of the flooding on Southern Boulevard?
No.
That
I did.
area floods up to 2 feet, and it's usually attributable to a king tide or a 2-inch plus rainfall in 24 hours. DEP has been involved in this. There was a site well installed in front of 24 Southern Boulevard. This has been an ongoing, reoccurring problem. If you looked at one of the pictures there, the entire yards in that area becomes flooded. The property elevation on 26 Southern Boulevard is relatively flat, and there's no impervious surface. And the town is contemplating reaching out to Merrimack Valley Planning for next steps and possible solutions. I had a chance to talk to the DPW director this afternoon, and we had a general discussion on repeating what I've just stated, and then some of the possible solutions, which might be, this is just a catch basin for the entire area. Water from Annapolis Way runs down through backyards into this area, and any water that accumulates on Southern Boulevard from either end run down to this low spot. There's been a discussion of possibly putting in lineal drains across the top of the high points on each side of this area, and trying to catch and disperse some of the water before it gets to this low spot. But appreciate the neighbors concerned on it. But from my perspective, it's been ongoing long before the previous owner bought the property or the current owner bought the property. why don't I stop there and open it up for questions to the members? Mary, any questions on this one?
So it looks to me that the project was a landing and some stairs and some plantings around it.
Correct. It looked like they had proposed two landings, one in the back of the property
Yep,
and one on the south side.
Yep.
The landing on the back of the property is in place. But to be honest with you, it looks original.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't a brand new construction. There is no stairs or landing on the south side. The deck on the front of the house has been restored, and diamond piers were used, as I sent a picture of that. But there's been no pavement, no pavers. There's some flagstones that were added to get around to the side of the property, but
right. The figure just shows a lot of plantings. And it doesn't appear from the photos that those plantings were put in. So that's what my question is.
yeah, when I went through, this is one of these, we don't have the original file, we just have the electronic copy, which I put into the Dropbox, which hopefully you're able to get into. The property is very vegetated in the front of the yard, and average vegetation going towards the back as it becomes a little more sandy. But
Yeah, it looks like a lot of poison ivy.
it,
They did have dune grass planting and some shrubs, some beech plum and arrowwood and cherry that was supposed to be planted. Looks like,
where was that, Mary? I didn't see that on
I'm
the,
looking at, there's a file called 26 Southern Boulevard, NOI OOC Pictures, and then if you go scroll past the pictures, there's a plan.
okay. I didn't see a planting schedule attached to the,
You want me to,
yeah, you want to share your
Screen?
screen? Yeah, I
Sure.
think that would be helpful.
can you, yeah, see, let me do that. Blow it up a little bit here. Oh, I got too much stuff.
There we go.
Can you guys see this? Let me see if I can get rid of some of this.
Yeah, I had saw it when I went through the order, though. I didn't see a planting schedule. And the plan didn't tell me what was existing or what was proposed, or it didn't
Hmm.
jump out at me one way or the
Yeah,
other.
so it looks like there was a list that was included with this. And there was a low area to be, with where sand was supposed to be added.
Yeah, the entire yard is basically flat with some pea stone, kind of a walkway going around from
Right.
the back stairs along the southern side to the driveway.
So I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but was my only concern, is that it appears that there was some requirement for some additional planting that might not have happened.
Okay. Mary, I'll circle back with you. Let's hear
Sure.
from everybody if that's okay. Woody, any questions on this one?
No, I don't have any questions. I will comment that I have seen the flooding in the road for many years.
Thank you, Woody. Mick, how about you? Any questions on this one?
No, none at this time, Bo. Thank you.
Okay. TJ, any questions on this one?
No, no questions. Also, having lived here, I've seen that flood regularly throughout the years, and that's a standard happening.
Yeah, the only time Annapolis Way is busy is when Southern Boulevard's flooded, it seems. Thank you, TJ. Diane, any questions on this one? This was the one that the neighbor did send in the complaint earlier today.
Yeah, so I mean, what the complaint basically boils down to is they're saying that they did raise some beds, that the water used to go there and now it doesn't go there because they've raised the beds and now, but you guys, three of you so far have said it's been like this for years and it's nothing new.
It's been a cycle almost on an annual basis. And the flooding has been ongoing. And one of the pictures I sent out to you today, their entire yard at 26 probably had a foot of water over it.
Yeah,
And it was 2 feet deep in the street, but Any questions on that, Diane?
Nope.
Okay. I don't have any questions. So Mary, this was an order by the previous owners. The yard is vegetated. And
Yeah,
they
it
didn't,
looks like it's an old order, and the flooding might be inhibiting some of the beach
Yeah.
grass growth as well, so. If you think it's stable and it's vegetated, then I'm fine.
okay. Yeah, I mean, again, I've seen it and they have kind of a swale in their, I'm gonna call it their northeast corner, which is heavily vegetated. And, but other than that, it's, you know, it looks good to me.
I would just maybe note in any certificate that some of the work does not appear to have been done.
Okay. All right, let me do this. Any raised hands from the public right now? And I would ask for assistance looking.
Um, Let me
Don't
see.
see anyone.
I don't see any.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve a certificate of compliance for 26 Southern Boulevard.
So moved.
And this will be for 0501181, just where we have two.
Correct.
So TJ, you're making the motion. Diane, you're second.
Yeah,
Okay, roll call, all in favor? Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Hey. All right. Next order of business is an enforcement order for 105 Northern Boulevard for unpermitted work. If you recall, team, Jim Williams and Heidi were on the call when this originated. I drove by the property recently. All of the front yard and side yard has been graded. Planting hasn't taken place. I did receive a planting plan today. I just haven't had a chance to send it out. So what I'm going to suggest is why don't we just leave this on our agenda for our next meeting? You'll have the plan, but basically they're proposing whatever area is disturbed, they're going to be planting beach grass in a 12 by 12 grid. And they're going to wait till probably the fall for a little better success of growing. But any questions for either Heidi or Jim? They are on the call.
no, just thanks for, looking into taking care of this and heading towards resolving it. Appreciate it.
You know what? It's so much easier when it's a cooperative effort and
Yeah.
gets it to the finish line and.
We'll work
but
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, Jim and Heidi,
I have one question, Bob.
Jim, you should quit while you're ahead. You know that, right?
I know the planting schedule, seagrass is not easy to find. Yeah, I gotta order it. So I was gonna call the place after this meeting. I didn't, or should I wait till the next meeting? Cause I gotta figure out if that's approved, I just gotta measure it out and get that much square feet.
Yeah, I mean, Jim,
Or-
I think all the plan does is give us the ability to go out. You're doing a 12 by 12 grid, you know the square footage.
Yep,
The math should probably be simple. I would order an extra 10%.
all right.
It may not-
And,
I'm sorry, it may
Yep.
not be available right now because it's not the time of year for planting.
Right.
It's usually planted
Yeah.
later in the fall.
Yeah,
So
that's what
I
I
don't
was
know if we
thinking.
want to consider that and push this later into the fall.
Yeah,
I'll
I-
make sure I get an order. If I need more, I'll get more, but I'll get at least an order plus 10% of what I sent you over. Hopefully, if that works, great. So if not, I'll get more.
Yeah, no, I think, Jim, what it is just get you on the right path.
Yep.
No one's suggesting you should plant this until you have optimal growing season.
Right.
And then we're gonna keep an eye on this for a minimum of one growing season to make sure everything, takes that you're doing.
Perfect.
And, hey, David Kelman, you're all set. I see you on the call. And both of
Right.
your orders have
Committee.
been closed.
Thank you.
Okay. So Jim, I'm just going to push you on to our August meeting so that the members will see it. There's no reason for you, Heidi, to be on that call. And I think that
Perfect.
way there you'll be able to keep on going.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
I,
Okay, on the other open enforcement order to Old Point Road, I received a call from our elected delegation that both the House and Senate have signed on the bill we're tolling to 2025 is going to take place. So the respondent is going to be talking to their engineers and probably going to be coming in, looking at an amendment or a modification. But their order will go from not being expired, and we'll rescind the enforcement order and let them make a presentation. So that's just more FYI. Okay, continue public hearings. DEP file number 0501428, 59 Plum Island Turnpike, construction of a single-family dwelling and grading. There's been a number of documents that have been sent. Bob Grasso has sent an updated site plan. Maureen has provided a narrative addressing the, well, why don't I do this? Bob and Maureen, why don't you bring us up to speed of where you're at
Sure,
and show us your plan? You're welcome to share your plan.
sure. Well, let me see if I can get this up. Can anybody, nope, that's not the right one. Let's see. Yes.
You know what, Bob, I'm going to make a suggestion. I think
Yeah,
where we ended up the last time was
okay,
looking for a narrative on
the
how
riverfront.
the riverfront and the delta on, you had a plus delta of 257 and the goal was to get it into a negative range. So what I'm going to
Yes.
suggest, Maureen, why don't, if I may, Maureen, why don't you go over your narrative on the riverfront for the commission? If you could post your memo, that'd be great.
Bob, do you have my memo easily accessible? So
No,
you can
I
bring
do
it-
not. I'm on my different laptop here. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I don't have the memo easily accessible, but I'm more than happy to go through it.
Yeah, let me do this. Let me
I-
see if
I have it here.
Mary, if you could do that, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Mary, thank you for saving.
No problem.
I have so many screens open on my computer
I-
right now. It's
I do see, so you might lose it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
Is this what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the last conservation meeting, the commission requested that the riverfront regulations be addressed. Because this site has existing impervious area and a house on it, I addressed the redevelopment standards. So I went through the number of standards. It certainly meets the redevelopment standards. The house was constructed prior to August 7th of 1996 with impervious surface for the driveway and the house itself. Let's see, at a minimum, the proposed work shall result in an improvement over the existing conditions. So we are proposing to improve the existing conditions by incorporating an infiltration or drip line trench around the dwelling. We're providing a net decrease of impervious area as well as native plantings on the property itself. So the next standard, then item B states that stormwater management is provided according to the standards. Because this is a single family project, it's not subject to the stormwater management standards. However, as I stated previously, we are providing infiltration by incorporating a drip line trench around the proposed dwelling. Item C basically says that we cannot locate the proposed structure closer than the existing conditions, and we're not proposing the house closer than the existing conditions. Item D states that, let's see, if we were going to expand the structure, essentially the regulations wants that as far away from the river as possible. But we're not expanding the structure, we're tearing it down, and we're not proposing it any closer than where the house is located right now. And lastly, it essentially states that we shall not exceed the amount of degraded area or impervious area on the site. We can alter up to 10% if the degraded area is less than 10%. The good news is we're not proposing to exceed the amount of the degraded area. The degraded area is 4,012 square feet. We're proposing 2189 square feet of work and providing a net reduction or delta of 279 square feet. And I believe this addresses, or I'm hoping this addresses the commission's concerns in terms of the riverfront and the redevelopment standards. And I can open it up to the commission with any questions.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we have Bob open up the plan and we can address questions on both matters at the same time?
Thank you,
Maureen,
Maureen.
can you open that plan up for me? It's on my other,
I can, yes.
thank you.
Okay. Wait a minute, I gotta share, right? Here we go.
Mhm.
Do you want the colored one, Bob, or?
Yes, yes, it's so much easier for the board to,
Okay, you see it?
yes.
Got
Can you
it.
just zoom in just a little bit?
Sure thing.
Just move it up here.
Yep.
Okay, so what we did was, since the last hearing, we actually pushed the proposed dwelling 3 feet closer towards the street, which makes it 46 feet from Plum Bush Creek. We've added, like Maureen had mentioned before, a 4-foot stone trench drip system around the entire dwelling. We've also incorporated more landscaped area. Landscaped area number 1, which is shown towards the street, is 594 square feet in green, and then in the landscape area of 2, which would be 33 square feet. I've done the site work chart, revised that with a delta of minus 279 square feet. That's the existing and proposed activities. What else have we done? I've also added behind the silt sock, we've also added a silt fence. So we doubled up on the erosion control with a silt sock and a silt fence. 12-inch diameter silt sock with the silt fence behind that. I was informed today that the client wishes to, in the front proposed landscaped island number 1, he wants to propose a underground storage propane tank, which would be 500 gallons. So the only thing that would be open up to the air would be the access cover. It would need a fire department permit. It would be anchored down through concrete because it would probably be in the water table below that, in that grade. So we would need Concom approval for that with the order conditions prior to applying for a fire department permit to install the underground propane tank. And that's all the revisions that we've done.
Okay. So, I mean, Bob, typically we'd want to see that on the plan.
Yeah, it was just brought up today that.
Yeah,
John-
no, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, let me do this. Let me open this up to questions and let's close out the issues that were previously noted. And then we can discuss the propane tank. Okay, questions from the members. Mary, questions?
Yes, thank you. And Maureen, thanks for going through that exercise. I think hopefully you send it to DEP as well, because they have been checking us to make sure we're asking for those kind of things. So, you know, it definitely is you're making the improvements primarily by the removal of the impervious area. It looks like to create some additional planting areas. Is there a planting plan that you have that, do you have any concept of number of plants or type of plants at this point?
So Bob shows the plants on the plan. I can certainly provide a planting plan. What would like to primarily do is native shrubs.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I hate to give, 5 high bush blueberry or dogwoods. Just because if you can't find those species, then we normally would go back to the commission or the agent and ask for, an alternative. I didn't know if just kind of specifying the location and specifying that we would do native plantings, if that would suffice the commission or do
Yep.
you strictly
So
like?
there's a native coastal plant list that you can select from. So we
Okay.
would just need to know the number, and that you would be selecting from the, CZM's native coastal plant list, and that would be sufficient. So
Okay,
just the number, and well, we know the square footage.
okay.
As far as the propane tank, I know this is in floodplain, so I don't know if there's issues with putting buried propane tank in floodplain, but you may want to check on that.
That would be the building,
Right.
fire department, which would be, they require a concrete slab for buoyancy calculations to make sure it wouldn't float out of the ground. So it would be
So
anchored.
significant excavation probably to get that in there.
The tank's roughly 4 feet in diameter by 8 feet long.
Four
and
to
it would
four by
only
eight,
stick-
okay.
It would stick out like probably a 2-foot diameter access manhole, to the top. But the rest of it will be buried, and then shrubs would be all around that. So
Around
it would be in the planting area.
Okay, so does the location of the tank affect your plantings? Because if you're gonna do a shallow depth
No, it shouldn't.
excavation-
I mean, he would anchor it low enough, would prove to the fire department that it would not float buoyancy calcs. It would be strapped down to a concrete base. And it's only a 500-gallon tank. It's not a very commercial, it's not a commercial one, it's a residential tank.
Right, I guess I'm asking how much cover you have over the tank.
Usually
Roughly-
it's usually
roughly.
18 inches. Is
Yeah,
what the
18
fire
inches
department-
to a foot,
Yeah.
foot.
Usually
To
they
2
so
feet,
that's-
require-
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's not quite enough to support the shrubs within that area. So you may want to consider adjusting the planting plan to just maybe do some herbs, grasses in that immediate area and shrubs around it, especially around the access port. You don't want to put.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
native plants that's surrounding the current house right now is marsh grass. It's I actually edited that, the edge of wetlands / salt
Yeah,
marsh.
Yeah, no, I
so-
know, yeah.
We plant, revising some salt marsh in there. I mean, that's,
No, you
That's
don't think you want salt marsh on the side of the side of the house there necessarily, and it probably won't grow on that side where the pavement
Okay.
has been. You don't want to create a salt marsh right there. That creates all kinds of other problems, but you can use other coastal grass species, and I'm sure Maureen can help you
Yeah.
with that.
I know
Sure.
the New England Plants has a coastal grass seed mix.
Mhm.
If the commission would find that appropriate, and if not, Mary, we're
Yeah.
open to.
Yeah, and you can get
Whatever
plugs
you
of
may
like
recommend.
switchgrass and some of the others that are attractive and also meet the requirement, and they look nice in the winter too, and
Okay,
so there's some options for that. And my other question had to do with the foundation plan, and I know this is proposed to be elevated. But
Yeah.
we don't have too many details on the flow through design except for what you're showing here is for a frost wall and elevation, but when you say flood openings, this is just gonna be
this
the
would be under the FEMA
minimum amount.
standard. They would be under the FEMA standards, which would be the bottom of the flood opening would be a maximum of 1 foot above the existing grade. And it would be reviewed, it would be designed by an architect and reviewed by the building inspector prior to construction. And that would be the set of plans, it would be a whole package, the foundation plan, the framing plan,
Okay,
side views, the ramps, everything would be.
Yeah, Mary, I
sent to the building.
actually had a chance to talk to the building commission. I was talking about some other matters.
okay, good.
And we actually discussed this, and flood vents at the appropriate elevation is the building
That's the way to
standard.
go.
he's
Okay.
gonna require, so.
Yeah, we typically we see elevated homes for other reasons, you know, because they're on a dune. So this is a different scenario where it's gonna look like a foundation, except it's gonna have flood vents in it.
Yes, it's land subject to coastal storm flowage.
So you don't need to mitigate, right?
Yes.
Yet, anyway.
Okay,
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll
one
circle,
more
I'll,
one. I'm sorry. I had one
Yep.
other one. Do you have a detail of the trench? Because it's a pretty good sized trench.
It's a 4 foot wide, it's actually it's shown right here. It's 4 foot wide, 1 foot depth of, stone, and it just infiltrates down into the existing grade.
Do you
below.
show it on the plan? I don't see it. I mean,
Oh, you want
have
a
a
detail of
detail?
it,
Yeah.
just a stone 4 foot wide, 1 foot depth of.
yeah, is
of
it
stone.
wrapped in filter fabric or is it just? just a
No,
trench?
it would just be straight down. I mean, it's all beach sand, like John.
Right, so
I have the owner on there right now. He knows the.
1 inch stone or
exist-
something like that you're talking
Yeah.
about?
What type of stone would you, John, would you use? River rock.
Rock, okay,
Yeah. You can put that in the order of conditions that the stone trench would be river rock, 2 inch river rock.
okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
okay, Mary, I'll circle back when we
Thanks.
go through the other members. TJ, any questions for Bob or Maureen on this one?
No more than Mary just brought up. I'm okay with the plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any questions for Mary or Bob on this, excuse me, Maureen or Bob on this matter?
I have no questions, it's just a comment that I watched the last meeting and I'm up to speed and this plan, I think the plan's good and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Mick, any questions on this matter?
No, I think Mary covered it, all my concerns anyway. Thank you, Mary. No, I'm all set.
Thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions for Maureen or Bob on this matter?
No, were we waiting on the planting plan and the propane location, or are we gonna do something without that?
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna make a couple of comments on,
Okay.
on
No
on
questions
both
then.
of those. So on the plan, I think the planting areas, we're looking for the net square footage of vegetation. If you're planting shrubs, you're ultimately only gonna have about 70% coverage because you're gonna have spacing between your bushes and your shrubs. And you have the alternative of just planting grass there, you know, an appropriate grass. So as long as I think you have a 70% net planting in that area, whether it be shrubs or grass, I mean, I would be fine with it. On the propane tank, again, we had a discussion with the building commissioner and the fire department on propane tanks. And it's solely their jurisdiction. Whether they allow it to be done in this area, that'll be determined by others. But I'm wondering, can you add a footnote, Bob? I think I'm gonna make a suggestion, Mary. We could request the plan to show the propane tank and add the planting schedule. But we could entertain closing out the public hearing if we have no other orders awaiting that. And then at our next meeting, review that and go from there. Does that sound like a thought process?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna wait till the next meeting anyway, then why don't we just ask them for the plan? to be
Well, I mean,
modified?
you know what? I think they've been here. This is what's this, your second or third time?
Just the second, yeah,
Second.
this is just the second. But that's what I'm saying is
I mean, I'm fine to
matter if
go
it-
forward. Yeah,
we can work
we
on
can
the
get-
order and get it ready for right after the next meeting, but I don't, if we accept a plan that isn't complete.
Well, I think we could add a special condition that the planting schedule would be submitted to the agent prior to commencement of work. And the same thing on the propane detail as approved by the building commissioner and the fire department or fire marshal. So I think we could add both of those just as a special condition prior to construction. And because the outcome isn't going to change. I mean, as far as they've identified what the planting area is. And we're not gonna specify what it's going to be, but that's where I'm leaning on this one, but. Any other thoughts on that, team? Does that sound like a plan to address those two open minor issues that? It's a good thought that they're doing it now. It would have come back as a minor amendment later and been more time consuming and costly for the resident. But okay, let me do this. Are there any raised hands from the public on this matter? I do not see any. But if I have any more pages open on my computer here, it's gonna look
I don't
like,
see
There aren't
anything.
any raised hands.
okay. All right, do any members have a request for any additional information or plan amendment or other content to this application outside of the planting schedule and an approved detail per the fire department that we're considering as a special condition? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Well, I'm a second.
Okay. Okay, roll call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick? Mick, you're on mute.
Oh,
Nod-
aye,
Nod your head, Mick.
yes,
Diane,
yes, aye.
Yes.
Diane? And Bob
Yes.
Connors votes yes. Okay, so team, I think the pathway forward is we'll do our usual order of conditions with our regular conditions, regular added conditions. But we'll add two special conditions, one just requiring the submittal of a planting schedule submitted to the conservation agent prior to commencement of a work. And if the agent finds it suitable, it will be all set. And the same thing on the propane tank. You know, you'll amend the plan to show the propane tank as proposed. And you can add the schedule of planting to your plan. And we'll incorporate that into the order of conditions. Mary, any other thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that?
no, we just need that on the plan so that we can reference it in the order of
Okay.
conditions, so.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 59 Plum Island Turnpike as presented with the two special conditions of additional notes on the plan prior to commencement of work.
So moved.
All in favor? TJ, Diane? Okay. Mary, I'm doing a roll call vote.
Yes,
Okay, TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
yes,
Mick,
Aye,
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you.
Okay, next order of business is, this is a continued public hearing, DEP file number 0501424, 18 Temple Boulevard West, for addition of a deck and elevated walk to dwelling and reclamation expansion of existing parking area. Team, as you know, we've talked about this one. Tom Hughes is here. They've modified their plan. It's been actually greatly reduced. And why don't you, Tom, take over and make your presentation?
Yeah, sure. So Tom Hughes with Hughes Environmental Consulting here on behalf of Jenny and Tom Aramo. They're also out there if we need to reach out to them for any input. But so we received some DEP comments as well as significant feedback from the neighbors. You may recall the commission set up a site visit, but there was a little bit of scheduling miscommunication. So the commission showed up at the site, I think an hour before the actual site visit time. So I ended up showing up and spending a good deal of time with some neighbors, but never got the chance to bump into you guys on site. So let me share my screen. All right, so you may recall what we originally proposed was in this area, we were going to have this deck structure with kind of a built-in shed underneath. It was going to be fairly large. And then that connected to the house through a series of walkways and some stairs. And it connects into the house here. What we've done is instead put the deck along the front of the house. So it's connected directly to the house in a more traditional way. And we've separated the storage out into a shed. Hold on, I was just trying to zoom in and that didn't work. So this shed right here, which is a 10 by 16 shed on posts. We also adjusted the proposed parking area to avoid impacting the two conifers that are nearest. The shrub impacts are mainly honeysuckle where that shed is going. And then it also overlaps with the existing boardwalk that's on site and with a big sand area that surrounds that boardwalk. We're proposing removing, there's a wood deck that we're removing and we'll be vegetating that. And then we connect the driveway area with the clamshell walkway over to this set of stairs that takes you up stairs. You can also access the deck, the new deck from upstairs right here. And then the main entry remains where it is. It's just incorporated into that deck in this area there. So it's more of a traditional kind of addition onto the house. And then, you know, just a standard run-of-the-mill shed. In terms of impact numbers, we impact 864 square feet of vegetation, and we're planting 970 square feet. We are planting 9 eastern red cedar. I responded to DEP. I also indicated we were going to be planting some bayberry in the response as well. So it's a different project. We do provide tree protection because we are going to have to install the supports for this stairway fairly close to a couple trees. So we are providing some tree protection for any of the trees that we're working near. And we also show a very tight limit of work, which would be a, you know, construction fence, typically orange construction snow fence that would be installed right along the limit to avoid any ancillary impacts outside. Within the footprint of this proposed deck, this area has got a lot of shrubs. I think it's a lot of bayberry in that area, but this area is kind of impacted by planting beds and walkways and all that. And I'll go back to the existing plan. So this isn't really great at showing you what's here and here. As you can see, we've got at-grade wood walkways. We've got this deck area that's going to be removed and this walkway here that would be removed. And lastly, if I can, hold on. I have to hide my controls. I didn't open the NOI folder. I was going to show you some of the aerial photographs if you hold on a second. While I'm doing that, I'm happy to answer any questions while I open this up.
Okay, Mary, questions for Tom at this point?
Yeah, so this is being presented as a deck, but it's obviously more than that. It's a deck on the first floor, but it's a full addition on the second floor, correct?
No, it's just deck.
It's deck on, well, can you go back to the architectural plan?
Oh, hold on. I don't think we updated the architecturals with you. So I
Oh,
think what you're looking at is you're looking at the old thing, which was a storage shed underneath and a deck on top.
I'm looking at the architectural profile view that's on your site plan.
Oh, okay, wait, let me go to that. Okay.
And so the existing house is not elevated, correct? It's a standard foundation?
No, it's on piles. It's on wood piles.
It is on wood piles. Okay.
Yes. Yep. All right, so you are looking at,
The top left.
yeah, so what you're seeing is deck below, deck above.
Yep.
This is open deck.
Okay. That's all that's
Ge-
being constructed so that
That's the
Everything-
gable end of the existing
that-
house we're looking at.
that's
now.
still there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-story, but it's deck.
Okay, and what are we using for piers?
I believe they're gonna be helical, but we're just, they're piles, but we're not using, we're not using sonotubes or anything.
Uh-huh.
But we do need
Will there
to,
be either driven steel piles or helical piers
or possibly driven wood.
or driven wood?
More than likely helical, just given how tight it is with our limited work.
And do you feel like you've responded to all of DEP's comments? Because I know there were a lot of them.
So I do, but given the number of them, DEP has appealed a project right around the corner, as you're probably aware. And they had a lot of comments on that one as well, and it's the same analyst. So I've been trying to reach him to see if he would piggyback a site visit on this site on one side or the other of that site visit on the 22nd. So it's my hope that I can either do that or at least get some confirmation from him that he's satisfied with the responses.
So
And I'm
would you
happy.
be looking for a continuance tonight so that you can do that?
Yeah, but I do want to hear from, we had a lot of abutters concerns, so I want to make sure that if there are any abutters out there, that we get any feedback they've got. I think Ginny and Tom have met with all the abutters, and I think they're all happy, but I can't obviously speak for
Sure.
those folks. And I also would like to hear any feedback from the commission. And if everybody is satisfied and is just checking the box with DEP, I would also ask that during the continuance timeframe, we keep the hearing open in case there are any DEP related changes, but that the commission begin work on an order so that we could look at issuance at the next meeting.
Thanks. That's all the comments I have right now, Bob.
Okay, I'll circle back, Mary. TJ, any comments for Tom on this project?
No, no, I think this was a good project and kudos to working with the neighbors and getting everything done. And as long as DEP doesn't have any problems, I have no problem with it either.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any questions for Tom on this project?
No questions for Tom and no comments. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Mick, any questions for Tom on
Yeah.
this one?
No, not anything specific, just, again, Mary covered it really well. I think Tom, just to, clearly define the pilings, like what the final decision is on the pilings for the support structure. I think that would be great. So.
Okay.
That would be my only suggestion.
There's a reason I start with Mary, Mick.
Yes.
I know. She's
on there.
so
Yeah,
thorough.
yes. Diane, any questions?
No, I was at the site visit, and the part that abuts up against the neighbors, they were concerned with all the beach roses and all that. None of that's being touched now. It looks like you've shifted everything over to the other side of the house, away
Right.
from the neighbor.
We are proposing to plant some red cedars, but they will be, they'll be sited to not be impacting things within this area, where there are a few trees. One of the problems we have on this site is there's a lot of evergreens that are not typically found on Plum Island, and they drop a lot of needles. And so when you have that, they do two different things. One is on an aerial photograph, they look to DEP like vegetation. They blend in with the dune grass, off season, everything's tan and it looks overly vegetated. The other thing they do is they somewhat acidify the soil, and they create a carpet that creates an impediment for certain things to grow through them, including beach grass. So the red cedars that we're proposing to plant are far more suitable, and they don't tend to have that effect on the surrounding area. They are native to Plum Island and do really well. So We're planning on doing that to offset the tree impacts, and then we're planting some bayberry to fit that in as well.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Tom, on the storage shed, do you have an elevation on that, or what are you proposing on even though I know it's not habitable, are you thinking just having it 2
It's
feet
just gonna
above
be-
grade?
I'm not sure if the commission requires it to be 2 feet, I think it's gonna be pretty close to 2 feet. The idea is to get it, the parking, and I don't know if you guys remember, is the parking is somewhat higher than the grade down here. We've got elevation 8. I believe that's 9, and this would be 10, right? So we're gonna be at about 10, and we want to have the shed so it's a comfortable walk. It's like a step up off the end of the drive. So it'll be elevated up. Typically sheds and dunes are allowed, to be, they're an accessory structure, so they're allowed to have some flexibility on height. We don't have a height specified, though. If the commission does want it up 2 feet, I think we can probably manage that, and it would be comfortable because the driveway, it's going to slope off at the end of the driveway. We just might pinch the grade, the separation a little bit where we get close to the new parking.
Okay, I think my suggestion is, why don't you include a notation of what you're ultimately going to do? It'll
Yep.
just make it easier on a certificate of inspection sign on.
Okay.
Okay, Mary, I'm going to circle back with you, and then I'm going to see if there's any public comments.
Just that if you're gonna elevate it 2 feet, the shed, then you might want to show some steps as well. If
Okay.
you need them.
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, I think the intent is this is going to remain relatively flat for the parking area. So we're going to be almost 2 feet above this grade. I think what we may do is just have a steep drop, have it tight to the ground here, but clear on all other sides.
Yeah, we're gonna want it elevated above the dune one way or another, so just so that this isn't a really active migration area for the
No,
Sand?
and
but it should be above grade.
right. But so I guess what I'm saying is if we were 2 feet clear, like on this whole section of the shed, and then here to here, we envision there's going to be doors here and doors here. That in that area, we're going to be tighter to the grade, but it's going to be the clamshell walkway and clamshell drive. Does that?
I think what Mary's saying is you're probably going to need a step, Tom, and you may need to show what that step is to.
Yeah. All right. We'll look
to
at
meet
that.
your elevation. So.
Yep. Okay.
I think put that on your list of.
Yep.
I think that especially where you're going to be scrutinized on this regardless, and that typically we would require that to be elevated.
All right. Sure.
Okay, I don't have any other questions at the moment. Okay, raised hands from the public. I see Steve Manchin. Is there anyone else besides Steve?
There are 12 participants and no one else has their hand up.
Okay, well, Steve Manchin, identify yourself, rank, name, and serial number and street address.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I assume I'm coming through loud and clear. This is Steve Manchin on 14th Street, Plum Island. It's a little bit difficult to think these are my final definitive comments, given that it's still a work in progress. But it does occur to me that with regard to the shed, we need to talk about it being elevated. There is certainly other interest on Plum Island, both commercial and private, where people are reluctant to have elevated sheds on their properties. And I think we need to be clear that commercial versus private needs to meet the same standards, that is elevated above the ground level. So that's one issue. The other thing is that I look forward to seeing a final plan being put forth for comments, since I don't know what else may show up as a result of DEP comments or comments from the commission. But again, the need to elevate across the board, that is for all other applicants, I think is something that we need to keep in front of us. And with that, I thank you for the chance to comment, Mr. Chair, and I'll lower my hand.
Okay, thank you. Ginny Aramo, I see your hand was up to you. I see your hand is gone.
No,
you-
I do have my hand raised.
Okay, well, Jenny, identify yourself and your address and let us know what you're thinking.
So I'm Ginny Aramo, 18 Temple Boulevard. I wanted to just comment on a few things. I did meet with every neighbor and I've received text messages from every abutter that they were really happy with this plan. The initial plan shifted the project to the north side of the property, and that's where the plum bushes were located. So we're not disturbing any of that. And we did scale this down. And we also, with the shed, we're flexible in the shed. We have no issue with elevating it. So whatever the commission, prefers, we just need a place to put bicycles and summer furniture and that sort of thing. Also, the house is on steel piles, not wooden. So I thought I would just let the commission know that.
And hence why you have no storage, because you don't have a basement.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So you know what, I was able to spend a half a dozen hours over the last month with the building commissioner. And the discussion came up on how we determined a permanent structure versus a temporary structure. And in his definition was this: if it's a temporary structure, it's not permanently attached to the ground by footing or piling. And hence it doesn't require a permit to put in, doesn't require a permit to remove. The minute it's permanently attached, then FEMA guidelines kick in and it requires a permit. So I just throw that out there. So technically, if you're putting a storage container on your property, the building inspector would look at this as a temporary structure and not requiring to be elevated. So I just throw that out there, and it again, between floodplain management and FEMA guidelines, our building commissioner ultimately is the code enforcement officer. And I wanted to have some clarity from him on that. In this case, it sounds like you're going to put it on piling, it's going to be elevated. So that's all I have to offer. So Mary, I'm going to go back to you. What else do we want to see on this plan? Because Tom's going to give us a little more of a detail, maybe a little section elevation on that, on the shed. And Tom, are you going to probably need steps or a ramp to get in there too? You may want to locate that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to look at that.
Yeah.
And before we hear from Mary, the thing with the sheds is there is a section of the performance standards that allows certain accessory structures to be permitted without having to do full compliance with all of the other sections. And that's typically why you see a lot of variation in sheds that are approved by conservation. They're not all elevated 2 feet. And some commissions allow them to just be up on blocks. One commission actually allows you to, or requires you to put an anchor in so that, they're actually anchored if in the event of a flood and they don't float away. There's a lot of variation on how folks handle sheds. We'll elevate it and we'll show steps, and we'll provide you with the proposed pile type. I'm pretty certain they were going to be helical, but I just want to confirm that with the architect.
Okay. Mary, anything else we want to add to the plan?
I don't have anything right now, thanks.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go through every one more time. Mary, you're all set. TJ, any
All
follow-up?
set. Yep.
Woody, any follow-up?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, okay, Mick, anything else? you wanna
No, no other questions, Bob? Thank you.
add? Okay, Diane, how about yourself?
Nope.
I have no other questions. I do not see any other raised hands. So, Tom, I think you get a little bit of feedback, not a very heavy bar. What I'm going to suggest, Tom, I'd be interested in seeing that section you referred to on accessory uses, on the need to elevate it.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not familiar with that. But other than that, I don't see any other questions.
See one raised hand.
Okay, Steve Manchin.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, and if I may, I too would be interested in the section that might allow for some wiggle room, which I think Tom Hughes described. But I do raise the question about if something's in danger of, shall we say, floating away, whether it be private or commercial, there must be conditions in place to ensure that should a flooding event occur, a response is, part of the order of conditions. I can think of at least one area of commercial development where there is a need to be able to respond to a high flood event with a removal action. And I'm thinking about it, beyond this particular property when I raise that concern. So I think.
Steve, what I'm gonna do is just
concerned
ask
about,
you to,
flow.
if you could just address your questions to the project before us. That's what we're dealing with. I hear what you're saying, Steve, but
Yep.
the matter before us is 18 Temple Boulevard West. So,
And I thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate what you just said. So I guess I would say that if the commission feels the concern about the need to have, for instance, anchor structures in the event of a high flood event, that be something that the commission considers and the applicant considers, so that we don't have a shed underway, so to speak. But again, I appreciate the indulgence of the chair and the commission.
okay, thank you, Steve. All right, Tom, I think you've got feedback from the commission. And
Yeah. No, and I do, one thing I do want to note, in response to Steve's concerns, we'll get an updated plan in. We don't really have an intention of continuing past that next meeting. So Steve, I would just invite you, if you look at the plans for the project and you want to give me feedback outside of the meeting before the hearing, then I can give it more consideration than I might be able to at the hearing. Just that offer is out there. But in terms of the shed on this site, we'll elevate it. The client has said they're fine with that. And we'll provide you with the details. And, the issue of it floating away in a flood, it'll be secured to whatever the supports are in a manner that will prevent the uplift and prevent it from easily flowing away. The other community that does require anchoring allows them to be placed on blocks. They just have to have an anchoring method so they don't float away.
yeah, like I say, I'm curious. It's a reoccurring question that comes up. And I think the commission would benefit from having all the
Right.
available options in our toolbox. So,
Right. And Mary may recall, I think it's accessory to a single family home, but I'm not sure of that. It is related to accessory structures, and I'll send you that language.
okay. All right, so Tom, at this time, does the applicant want to request a continuance of this public hearing?
We do.
Okay, and our next meeting to the August 6th meeting? Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until August 6th at the applicant's request.
So moved.
Second,
Okay. Okay, roll call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Hi,
Diane, and Bob Connor. Diane, did I hear you? Did we lose Diane?
hello? Yes?
Yep. Okay, thank you, Diane.
Sorry.
All right, so that's gonna be to August 6th, 24. All right, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, next matter, a continued public hearing, DEP file number 0501429, 36 Northern Boulevard, the demo of existing home and construct a new home on piles and grading. Tom had provided us an overview at the last meeting. We continued that. The two open issues that we talked about was a protocol for the knotweed removal and a sieve analysis for any sand that was being brought in. And Tom, you wanted to continue this hearing as
Yeah,
Again, you wanted to get further feedback from, on technical comments, so why don't you provide the update where we're at?
yeah. So DEP commented on this, and their comments were actually much more straightforward, the kind of thing that, you know, Mike Abel might have written, who was their dune reviewer forever. It was one that we include a statement about compatible sand being used to nourish where we're removing structure, and that we needed to provide sieve analysis, color, et cetera, with that. And the other comment they had is it needs to be an elevated open pile structure. So it is an elevated open pile structure, and the sand that would be used is either going to be one of the known sources that is already known to meet the grain size analysis, and the one that is currently mostly being used, it used to be the Presby sand. We had issues with the grain size on what Bentley Warren was actually shipping for a little while, but they have what's called a concrete sand, which is a wash sand. It has no fines, and it typically meets the grain size analysis. And we would provide the grain size analysis with that. If it's any other source, the way we used to do it, and I think it's the way that I'm encouraging all three commissions in our area to do it, is the old school way, which we deviated from by trusting the local supplier too much. And that is, you bring in a bucket of the sand and you bring in the grain size analysis, and you bring in the comparison with the Plum Island standard, which is what's in the beach management plan. And it's also what's in the Plum Island water and sewer project. That has a range of grain size, and there's some other things that you don't want clay particles in there either. So it's but it's typically only 2 or 3% that are allowed to pass the 200 sieve, and everything else is pretty coarse and pretty uniform. So I responded to DEP with that process, and also with the statement, this is an open pile supported structure. And then with regard to the knotweed, looking at it, the protocol that I've come up with, the roots I don't believe go down immensely deep, but I don't want to be digging down deep in the dune either. So I've limited the excavation to 1 foot. When they do the demo on the building, they'll take the machine. Typically, they're using the machine with the little thumb, and they should be able to grab the top foot or so, and then we'll restore to the existing grade with clean compatible sand. And then any regrowth will be treated with glyphosate. So, we're likely, no matter what you do, you're going to end up with some knotweed that's just going to kind of try to pop up. And at that point, hopefully we've diminished it, and glyphosate tends to be most effective on the freshly growing sprouts after cutting. So I think we should be able to get it under control pretty handily that way.
Okay. Tom, why don't I stop you there, and we'll open it up to questions. Mary, why don't we start with you?
Is that written somewhere? I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, I wrote it in an email. Unfortunately, I did not get that out until today, but it is written in an email today.
So why don't I can read that, Mary, if you want, and it's so Tom had sent out, and he established a protocol to follow the knotweed removal. While on site to do demo, the contractor removed the knotweed strand for disposal off-site in a non-viable manner. The means of removal of the dense stand within reach of the machine will be to remove the plants and build up the roots. Clean compatible sand meeting the grain size requirements established for Plum Island will be placed to bring the grade back to its existing. Replace any volume taken up by the roots. Excavation of roots not to exceed 1 foot. Regrowth will be treated with glyphosate. Glyphosate?
Glyphosate.
Okay.
Glyphosate.
So-
It's the chemical that's in Roundup.
Yeah. You
So-
couldn't put Roundup in there for me, Tom?
Well, and they could use rodeo or Roundup in this
Yeah.
application, because it's not really near an aquatic. You worry about the glyphosate or the Roundup, because the stuff that makes it stick to the plant also tends to blow up amphibian cells and things like that. So it, it basically, it gets rid of the surface tension that holds biology together. And it's funny, it's not the chemical that kills the plant that causes the problem. It's what makes it stick to the plant.
So I would just suggest that your first line of defense would be to hand pull resprouts, because it's in sand, they'll come out easily, especially if you've kind of turned things over during
Yeah.
construction activities. And then if that is not successful, that you resort to herbicide. But I think that at least in my experience, hand pulling in sand like that works fine if you stay with it. So
Yeah, Mary, I was actually thinking more of if the roots go deeper and it's something coming off a deep
if you're
root.
not pulling, if you're not getting the whole rhizome as you're pulling it, then yes. But if
Yeah.
it's just seedlings that are coming up, no, they
Yeah,
drop
yeah,
it
no, I
easily.
would agree. I would agree with that.
So I would say that just to modify that, to just say that
Yep.
try hand pulling first. If it's not successful, then
This would be
Right.
the maximum invasive approach to removing the knotweed.
yeah.
That's what I'm
And
looking at
so
now.
if we have, you can make sure that that email is part of the record for this file so we can track it again, or have Tom provide something on his letterhead that we can include in the file so that it doesn't get separated. And that way we can just reference your letter
Yep.
as a special condition.
I was thinking, Mary, of cutting and pasting the paragraph I just read as a special condition to the order of conditions. And the
Or we can
same
do it
thing,
that way. We can do it.
and the
that way.
same thing on the SIB analysis, just
Okay,
doing it. And, that way there it gets buttoned up and it's all in the same doc without it.
sounds good.
Okay. All right, let's move on. TJ, any questions for Tom on 36 Northern?
Nope, no more questions.
Okay, thank you. Woody, any questions for Tom on this map?
I just have a clarification question. You were referring to basically a sticking agent that's in the chemical Roundup that helps the chemicals stick to the plant,
Yeah,
like a surfactant?
yeah, it's a
like-
surfactant.
And that's what actually harms
So when
the body of water?
that's what harms aquatic life, right? So when you buy rodeo, it's Roundup without a surfactant. And the problem with that is then you spray it on a plant and it beads up. So there's all kinds of people who have, experimented with things like agar and even sugars and other things. There is a fairly safe blue foaming surfactant that does kind of turn it into bubbles and it seems to work. But yeah, but that's the difference. That's why rodeo is far more effective when painted, into the pith of a plant or onto a fresh cut, rather than spraying on the leaves. It just rolls up and, drips off.
Okay, thank you. I
Great.
appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Woody. Mick, any questions or comments on this? For Tom?
No questions from me, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Diane, any questions on this one?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions. Are there any raised hands from the public at this time? I don't see any, but I'm tired, so
No, there are 10 participants and no raised hands.
okay. All right, do any members have a request for a site visit, additional information, or plan amendment, or adding additional content to this application?
I do not.
Nope.
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh,
I'm
we can
sorry.
close. You want to close this public hearing, Tom, because
Yes.
you're all set now.
Yeah, these were,
Yeah,
if
your
DEP
comments.
has a problem with my response on this one, I'll be shocked. So,
Well, we've covered them. We've covered them in ours.
I mean, these are sort of the more what I think of as vanilla DEP comments that
Right.
they're
right.
just kind of reminding you of details.
Yeah.
And so I'm very comfortable closing at this point
Great.
and moving on.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, in favor, say aye. Mary,
Aye.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right. All right, so Tim, I think we were gonna cover, we had discussed adding a couple of special conditions to this application. One is adding the protocol for the removal of the knotweed and then really just cutting and pasting the sieve analysis work as 2 additional special conditions. And so, but this is the time. Is there anything else we want to entertain for a special condition beyond our usual?
I'd like to ask that the knotweed protocol be amended to include hand pulling as a first attempt before using herbicide.
Okay.
And if it specifically mentions glyphosate, then you might want to include others like triclopyr or something that might be effective if the glyphosate is not. So
Mary, have you had any luck with triclopyr on knotweed?
Yep.
Okay, I haven't. It's been Habitat, I think, is the only other one, which is Ismapyr.
so I think we could just specify herbicide application.
Herbicide, yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll just say an herbicide.
and that but that hand pulling be.
So we're gonna recommend hand pulling, but not to exceed the 1 foot of excavation as mentioned in the rest of it.
Yep.
You'll never hand pull below 1 foot.
Yeah.
Well, it just,
Yeah.
again, I'm managing paperwork here, the guys, so
Yep.
that's. all.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think if the condition instead of saying glyphosate said an herbicide acceptable to the agent. And
Tom, I'm gonna stop you there. You're
Okay.
going to make this, you're gonna send me a text on the exact wording here. You're gonna include.
no
that
problem.
the Commission recommends hand pulling. And the rest of what you proposed is not to exceed if the root growth goes below a foot.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay. And we'll add those as special conditions. Anything else, team, that we want to entertain on special conditions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to issue an order conditions for 36 Northern Boulevard with the 2 special conditions just mentioned.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, all in favor? Mary?
Yes.
TJ?
Aye.
Woody?
Yes,
Mick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right, the last matter before us is a continued public hearing on DEP file number 050-1430, 40 Northern Boulevard for demo of an existing home and construction of a new home on piles and grading. Same thing, Tim, team. We had opened the public meeting at our last meeting, and it was continued at the applicant's request to anticipate any additional technical comments. And Tom, why don't you take it from there if you would.
Sure, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, Tom Hughes with Hughes Environmental Consulting. So on 40 Northern, first of all, the commission did ask for me to throw the natural heritage line on, which we did. I emailed that out today, but I'll share that. It's just a line on the plan. Other than that, there have been no project changes with that. We had the exact same DEP comments. So hold on, let me get to, I'm gonna hide meeting controls so I can get to. So this line, this black line right here is the natural heritage habitat line. And our limit of work is now a foot behind it. We actually were clipping just past it, so we fixed that. And that's the only change to the plans. The other thing is we got DEP comments on this. They were the exact same as next door with regard to the sand issue and open pilings. And we responded, this is open pilings, and we responded with the exact same sand response. We can read it again, but you know, my suggestion would be that it gets treated identically to the one next door with regard to that. I'm very comfortable that we've addressed the DEP comments on this one, and you know, this one and the one that we just went through are going to improve the resiliency of this dune by getting rid of some solid foundation and putting in elevated pile supported structures.
Okay. Tom, it looks like you've got a red dotted line. I can't quite read. I'm assuming it's.
Oh, this
no
is,
fence
yeah,
bound-
that's a construction snow fence boundary. Yes,
Okay.
that's our limited work.
And what are you gonna use for a staging area for dumpster stock? Existing driveways, obviously.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be the existing driveways, and it's gonna be tight, and you know, you've seen it down in that area when other things happen. Sometimes you have to have a detail to be out in the street for a little bit, but there's enough room between the existing garage and the paved road that we can fit stuff in there. Typically on a job like this, it's so tight that it's sort of loaded into a truck and just taken right away. You don't really have enough room for a lot of contractor parking and dumpsters. So this isn't one of those ones where I would envision a dumpster being parked on site for a long term. There is some room to put one up in this area, and I would envision that just about all the vegetation will be impacted within this limit of work. We have to demo a building, get a foundation out, and then we have to get in there with equipment to drive piles. And you know, the guys who drive piles on Plum Island are not always very concerned with anything other than having their rig straight and true in the place where they need to put the pile. And that means their treads go over a lot. But we're comfortable they can work within that limit.
Tom, let me stop you there and open this up to questions. Mary, any additional questions for Tom?
Tom, can you blow up the plan a little bit more? It's a
Yeah.
little bit hard to read.
Yeah.
Thanks. So that wood planter, is that staying or going?
That's going. That's why the limit of work goes around it.
Okay. And the the sand fencing, that DEP referred to in their comment letter, is that your construction fencing or is that something different?
I'm assuming that was
Sand
the,
fencing included in the design. Not sure where do they?
yeah,
want
I
that on
don't
this?
know. I don't, you know, something I don't know what they mean by that other than the snow fence for a limit of work. Sand fence would not be, I'm sorry, I'm going all over this the place here.
Yeah.
Sand fence would not be a helpful tool in this area. We would not be opposed to a condition added into the into the order that allows us to install sand fence if necessary to trap sand. But I mean, this is a more active area of the dune because there's not a building in front of it, but it's still on the back side of the dune, pretty far back. I don't see the value of sand fence. I see the value of the snow fence to keep us,
Yeah,
you know, tight.
I just wasn't sure what they were getting at with that, if they're talking about further towards the beach or it's not really clear, but that's fine. That was my only comment, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'd say proposed snow fence barrier for heavy equipment.
And this is the copy of the plan that they now have?
Yes.
Right, thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Mary. TJ, any questions for Tom on this matter?
Nope, I think it's a good plan. I can see it very clearly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any comments for Tom on this matter?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mick, any questions for Tom on this matter?
No further questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, any questions for Tom on this matter?
No, thank you.
Okay, Tom, remind me, what are you proposing for revegetation? I mean, obviously within your
So
limit of construction.
everything that gets disturbed is going to be American beach grass 1 foot on center, and then all of these green areas are going to be American beach grass 1 foot on center. We're not proposing any shrubs. This is an area that does not have a building on the seaward side, so you tend not to do as well with woody vegetation in a place like this. We're best off, I think, with American beach grass, which does really well with the occasional
Mhm.
sand burial from a windstorm, and so I mean there are typically your primary dune vegetation is dominated by American beach grass, and it has minor components, the annuals like the pea and of course poison ivy, but we don't plan on planting any poison ivy. So
Okay,
That's
all
approved.
right. Are there any raised hands from the public? I do not see any.
See
Okay,
it?
there we go. All right, do any members have a request for a site visit, additional information, or plan amendment, or adding additional content to this application?
I do not.
No,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
second,
Okay, all in favor? Say aye. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Mick,
All right.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors, votes yes. All right, so Tom, I think the only special condition we'll have is, are you bringing any sand into this area? And if you do, you're just gonna have to provide the sieve analysis.
we're getting a lot of solid structure from the core of the dune, and we have to backfill that in and essentially rebuild the dune in the void that the building was taking up. So
All right, so I would think that we'll add that as a special condition. Any other special conditions that we would like to entertain? Mary, anything that,
just,
out at you?
revegetation of all disturbed areas that's shown on the plan, and I don't know if that's a standard condition in our orders. I don't think it is, but just to make sure that
Yeah,
all
if it's on the
disturbed areas are
plan,
revegetated.
if it's on the plan, I mean, that's,
Yeah, I'm not sure it is labeled specifically on the plan, is it?
it normally is. I didn't,
It's in the notice of intent, but language, but it's not on the plan, I don't think.
yeah,
Okay.
I would highly suggest you add that to your standard order. That is in, all, whether I'm on the Cape or up here, that's a standard condition.
well, then it would be in the first 49 standard conditions. We just checked them. Okay, I'll double check that when these are prepared. Okay, anything else, Mick? Anything you want to entertain? Diane?
I have nothing more. No.
Nope.
DJ,
No, very
anything?
thorough. Tom,
Good.
thank you.
No, Tom does a thorough job. Woody, anything?
nope,
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 40 Northern Boulevard with the special conditions mentioned, making sure revegetation, 12 inches on center, American beach grass, and a sieve analysis for any upland sand brought to the site.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all in favor, roll call, Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
yes,
Brad.
I'll fill in for Brad.
Oh,
and,
Jesus.
say-
Ah,
and say-
You know,
and say aye.
That's how late
Aw.
it's getting. I'm almost in
It
darkness.
was an habit,
sometimes.
Tom. It
It's
would
like,
happen, right?
I
Yeah, I
have to
know.
walk downstairs and turn the lights on in my room up here. Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
So,
thank you very much.
On administrative stuff, guys, I got a text from our town administrator that they were conducting an interview with a candidate for agent. So I'll let you know with that. But I just want to give Chrissy, our administrative assistant, a shout out. She has been being bombarded from all angles, and she's been just doing a great job. A couple of other things on 62 Middle Road. If you recall, they had come in for a certificate of compliance at our last meeting, and on our site visit, septic tank had been put in, the yard had been graded, but there was still some tree debris stumps that were on site, and the erosion controls had been interrupted. So Chrissy informed me today that they were asking about that, and so I made it clear. I said our biggest concern was getting all of the site work done, getting all of the trees, the branches or stumps out of there, making sure the erosion control is in place, and then have a a demonstration of revegetation. And we're just giving us a heads up that they may come in for a request for a partial certificate, but that would be the minimum standard they would have to meet for me to even entertain that. So I do share that. It's obviously a decision we make collectively. But other than that, that is pretty much it. Any any final comments, Diane? Have you mastered Dropbox? What a pain in the neck.
Yeah,
job.
something, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
good. We'll get it together, huh?
Well, you know
Yeah,
what
too much
happens
help,
is
huh?
if you have a commercial account and then you don't have a paid account, whoever opens the Dropbox kind of maintains control of it, and so the aftermath of Sam moving on, Sean created his own Dropbox, and now we're kind of infilling in between, but
Shouldn't
We
the
in,
town
like,
have one?
are we in Dropbox limbo, Bob? Is that what you're telling us, or?
no, you know what it is? I like the idea of having a file with the date of the meeting, and then
Yeah.
all the docs are in there. Just nice to have it.
No, I agree. It's a good setup.
And so I worked hard to do that, but no matter what I did, I could get into it, but I had to send a link to Diane. Was anyone else able to get into that?
No, I was not.
Sam had Concom. Sean
have
had
got into that one.
Conservation Commission.
That's the one I have still.
Right.
Yeah,
So, but Sean created Conservation Commission because he couldn't get into.
Oh, is that okay?
I
And
have all
so-
of them.
Okay, yeah, well,
What'd you do, Mary?
yeah.
I don't know why.
Uh,
Well, I
you
have
know
paid
what,
account. that's why.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference, so.
But you need that admin kind of access, right?
It's just very frustrating because you don't know which file it's in.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what, in all honesty, I mean, one of the things I told Tracy is they need to be an expert on Dropbox or some other depository vehicle. And that
Yeah.
what's in the Dropbox should match the agenda, so that item 1 is agenda 1 and so on. So
Mhm.
we're not jumping around. Diane?
Why doesn't the town have a Dropbox? Like, why is it up to the individual person?
Oh, no, they
that
do
happens to
have
be
it.
acting as agent.
It is the town's Dropbox. But
Oh.
apparently whoever creates the account, I'm gonna call them, they're the host.
Yeah,
And then they have to grant you permission to do X, Y, Z. So
It's kind of like soon as you create a file, you become an administrator.
right.
So you have to
because I don't
allow
have
access.
to it.
Yeah, you have to allow people to access to that file you created,
I don't have
which
it.
is it's cumbersome. I mean, it's a good method, but it's just a little cumbersome because it's almost like you don't know you become an administrator when you create the file.
You know
So-
what? I'll be honest with you. If we don't get an agent soon, I'm gonna send you a PDF tablet that's gonna have tab 1. That's how we do it in construction, and it's
Yeah,
actually quicker.
That'll work.
Yeah.
You know what? And it comes
Bob-
in one file, and you know what I'm saying, Mick? It just so
I hear you, Bob. I hear you. Like,
It-
I'm just
but
gonna just send me a PDF, Bob, with
no,
with tabs. I'm good.
I think the other thing in talking to Chrissy, we're getting inundated with late submittals, and our regs or our policies are simply there's a certain cutoff
1
for
week. Should be 1 week.
1 week,
Yeah.
even on submittals, on the additional submittals. It's getting stuff in at 5 o'clock today is just.
Yeah.
We're accommodating residents and consultants, but at our own expense. And you know what, it's in a matter where that you could have someone that's at 330 3rd Street, where you get something at 5 o'clock today, someone that's not liking the project doesn't have a chance to see it or respond to it. So
Most towns have 2 weeks for new filings and 1 week for supplemental
That's
information.
what everything is supposed to be in by
Right.
Tuesday noontime.
Unless it's really minor.
Yeah.
And in which case it's up to the agent's discretion, whether
That
that's,
should be probably Bob's call, whether it's like super minor.
Yeah.
But
You know what it is, it just.
I
giving
agree,
everyone
Mary,
a
like,
chance.
yeah,
It's just not fair to the commission to get a document at 5 o'clock tonight. And.
plus it's not on the agenda,
Right, and
Right.
being
post the
responsive
agenda,
to it.
so.
I mean,
What-
what I've been trying to do, team, is the only things I'll entertain at last minute would be a certificate of complaint, anything that doesn't require a public hearing, and it seems plain vanilla.
Mhm.
Because usually it's some title search that's being done and someone's chasing, a missing piece of paperwork. But other than that, that's all I have, team, and hopefully we will have a new captain steering this ship at Town Hall.
Okay. let's see.
Hey,
Good.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It is 7:45.
So moved.
Okay, roll call, Mary, TJ,
Yes,
Woody, Mick,
yes.
Diane,
Yes,
Bob
Aye.
Hartley,
yes.
and no abstentions. Good night, everyone.
All right.
Thanks for
Bye.
your
Thanks, Bob.
patience.
Thanks,
Talk to you
everyone.
all.
Okay,
Great
bye,
job,
guys.
Bob.
Have a great night.